I am Dorothy Bell. I am 84 years old, and I was 14 years old when Pearl Harbor was bombed, and I remember the warriors very well.
All right. Could you describe the feelings you had as people around you were being drafted, or enlisting, and or leaving the war?
I just remember some of my relatives going off to war. I had classmates who went off to war before they graduated. They did graduate with our class, and, but they were not there.
Really? How did U.S. entry in World War II change your daily responsibilities? So what was different about school, or if you had a job, what was different about that?
I lived on a farm north of Stockport, at 2.5 miles.
Yeah.
And so you'll laugh about this. I rode a horse to school. And my dad got a stable in Stockport, and so I'd ride that horse to school and ride it home. And I walked that 2.5 miles more than once.
Oh, okay.
Quite a few times more than once. And also bicycles. My sister and I rode our bicycles sometimes.
Okay.
And so, gasoline was very treasured,
Okay.
We saved it for real necessities.
Yeah.
Having to go to the grocery store or something.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. It wasn't used for pleasure.
Okay. In what ways did living with the rationing strain your lifestyle? And you just kind of mentioned that.
Well, I lived on, as I said, lived on a farm. And so we were lucky because we had, vegetables and fruit and meat, and people in towns had a lot harder time than we did. But there were things that we could not get, that we missed, or hardly ever could get. And one thing was sugar.
Okay.
And my mother loved to, can and cook and bake, and so that was a big, hard trip for her.
Yeah.
Occasionally they would have sugar, and they'd tell you, and you had a ration book, and you had to give these coupons to get your sugar.
Okay.
And I just told Riley, one of the rationing things that was hard for me was the shoes were rationed.
Really?
Yeah.
Shoes?
And my mother always said, "You're so hard on your shoes, and we don't have enough coupons to get you shoes." So I had to be very careful with my shoes, and I guess I wore them out pretty bad.
Where would you get these ration books?
Well, I was in high school at this time.
Yeah.
I was a sophomore in high school.
Wow. Okay.
Okay, and I was in the typing class, and some of us got called down, came to school, and we got called down to the basement of the school where the typing room was, and the shorthand, all that.
Okay.
And people from all over the area came down, and we typed up all their information, like how many are in your family, what are their names and ages,
Okay.
and so forth. And then this was to sign up for the ration books. And then when you got sugar or whatever, that was ration. And tires were a big thing because all that went to the war effort,
Right.
And once in a while there would be tires, but not very often.
Yeah.
So it had to be, so we didn't go for pleasure in the car. It was
Okay. Yeah.
absolute
Yeah.
business. Okay.
I understand. So, how concerned were you with a possibility on another attack on United States soil?
I think we were all, that day at Pearl Harbor, my dad and mom and sister were over at my Uncle Nance and their family over by Birmingham. And somebody turned on the radio. There were no TVs, you know.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
But someone turned on the radio and we heard this. We were all scared. You know, we were all scared. And the whole country was scared. And they were thinking, well, if they bombed Pearl Harbor, they'll bomb California.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. And one of my good friends from college was Japanese American.
Mm-hmm.
And she was just a wonderful, brilliant
Yeah.
person and turned out to be a doctor. But anyway, her whole family lived in California, and they gathered up those American Japanese and put them in concentration camps. Did you know about that?
Yeah, internment camps. We just learned about that Friday, yesterday.
Really?
Yeah.
And so it was a terrible thing for them. They took their farm away from them, and
Yeah.
they had a farm.
Yeah, I can't imagine what that'd be like.
And anyway, my friend's name is Ida, and then she went to she was first in a camp near their home. Then she was moved to a camp, her whole family was moved to a camp in California, or in Colorado.
Okay.
And then somehow the American Friends and the NISA committee or something got some of the kids that were really smart out of the camps and sent them to colleges. And so my friend Ida was sent to Parsons College, and that's how I knew her. She lived across the hall from me.
How much information was available about the war, specifically the concentration camps in Europe?
You know, I don't think we knew anything about it.
Right.
I think that we were poorly informed about that.
Right.
Because I don't remember.
Right. Well, the Nazis did a great job of concealing it.
No, I don't remember that.
Yeah. When did you finally grasp the idea that Nazis were killing millions of Jews?
Probably towards the end of the war, I would think.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
How'd you learn about it? Through the radio or just can't really recall?
No, I don't remember. And I don't remember how long before the end of the war.
But towards the end?
But I can't, of all the things I think about of the war, that doesn't, I don't have memories.
Okay.
I'm sorry, but,
Yeah.
because that was the worst thing that ever happened.
Yeah.
But, well, it was, here in Iowa, we didn't get that much of information about that, I don't think.
I'm not sure if you're able to answer this one because you're so young. But
Right.
what were your feelings toward Franklin Roosevelt? Did you have any? Did you have an opinion about him?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Okay, I did. Well, it was kind of different in my family. My father said he was a Republican, but he didn't vote that way.
Vote for Roosevelt.
And my mother was a Republican, but my father thought that President Roosevelt was wonderful. How he got us out of trouble, in the Great Depression and so forth. He admired him a lot, so that was, that's the information that I got,
Yeah.
And I know, I told you he was a farmer, and I remember that, and I don't quite understand what happened, why they did this exactly, but they had to kill their little pigs that they had.
Just
The government told them to kill their little pigs. It's something to do with the economy, but I don't know. You know?
Oh, okay. Well, maybe they wanted to try to increase demand by lowering the supply.
That may be. I don't know. But anyway, I remember that my dad did that.
It's interesting.
No, it was terrible. I remember.
So he didn't like that about Roosevelt? How
No,
he made
he
him?
thought he did it because he thought
Oh,
he
'cause
knew
he
what he
trusted
was
him.
doing. He trusted him.
Okay.
Okay. And I remember coming back from classes at Parsons, and I came back to the dorm, and people were crying. I said, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" The president died. And I thought, I don't even remember another president except Roosevelt. You know, he was in office for a long time. I remember that. And another thing I wanted, can I put something in here?
Go ahead.
But I told you I went to Parsons, okay? We probably had 10 men at Parsons in classes. 10, maybe. And then the war was over, and the men could go back to classes, and they had the GI Bill that helped them go to school.
Okay.
Okay, I went down to the dining room. I couldn't believe it. The whole dining room was full of men. What?
You were probably in heaven, weren't you?
Yeah, I did. In fact, I saw this man across. I thought, oh, that's a good-looking man. I married him later. It's true. It's true. But you know, you don't think about the whole male population was
Yeah.
that that my age anyway were all gone.
It's funny.
Oh dear.
Alright, what was your opinion on war in both hemispheres? So when Japanese attacked us, did you just think, oh, we should go after Japan, or did you feel that we should be involved in the entire war?
So I think we were scared enough. I think it's okay, we have to do that. And then we heard about all the countries that the Nazis were taking over. And I thought that we had to do this.
Yeah.
We all felt that it was a war, a needed war. And I remember we were all working together,
Right.
and to preserve our country, and we did all we could. You know, they had war bond sales, you know, and we were asked to give to the cause, you know, and people picked up scrap iron wherever they could, and you know, just all kinds of things like that. Sure. Well, I thought we had to do that to protect ourselves, our country. That's what I thought.
Can you describe what VE Day was like?
Yeah, you know, I don't really, you know, I've seen all those pictures and everything, but I don't remember that day. It isn't.
You don't remember a specific
engraved
date?
on my, you know, I was happy with it, you know,
Yeah.
but I don't remember that I celebrated it or anything,
Okay.
because I would still be in college.
Yeah.
So I don't remember any big deal.
Our interview with Dorothy was very helpful in understanding World War II and the effects of it at home. One thing that we learned was during World War II, everyone was behind the war effort. They did what they could to help out if it was rationing gas or sugar, as Dorothy did, or even picking up steel. They tried to help as much as possible. During World War II, the war effort was a big part of everyday life, unlike the Iraq War and the United States more recently. You could easily go by a week without realizing that the United States is at war, while during World War II, the war was more profound in people's lives. I thought it was interesting about her friend Ida, who she had mentioned. She had been at an internment camp, and she was sent to Parsons College under some sort of law, I guess, which allowed young people to go to college. And she was a very good friend, and I thought it was pretty interesting that she had that association with her. I also found it interesting that Dorothy's father had killed her piglets not because he thought that, you know, it would help the economy, but because he trusted Roosevelt knew what he was doing. Well, I guess he knew it would help the economy, but he knew what Roosevelt was doing.
Oh, hey there. Didn't see you. I found that this project is very interesting. Dorothy Bell is a very intriguing woman. They gave up so much during World War II. I couldn't even imagine, from rationing of sugar and shoes and food and supplies and gas. I'd probably die today. I just couldn't live without it. Before this interview, I got to talk to her one-on-one, and I found out that her and her sister would drive to Ottumwa, and they'd get sugar on the black market. How neat is that? That is something else right there. She used to ride a horse to school because they couldn't afford to get gas all the time. If I didn't have gas, I probably just wouldn't go to school. They gave so much more than we did. Their lives were affected by World War II much different than ours are affected by Iraq. Personally, Iraq doesn't affect me, or that I am aware of. It doesn't affect me, but World War II affected everyone. Everything was for the war. Concentration camps. I was surprised they didn't know about them. I mean, how do you not know about something killing billions of Jews and stuff like that? She used to sit in a room and type all of her ration books and everyone else's ration books, and they just typed for days, put everything out there. Couldn't do that, just couldn't. This whole project amazed me. And I'm so glad I got this opportunity to do this. I've learned a lot from Dorothy.